This is episode 32 of Spiritual AF with Pixie Rose, the podcast for people going on their spiritual journey, knowing that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Before we dive into this episode, I just wanted to share with you something I'm really excited about. Beauty by BB skincare range. It is all vegan, all made from recycled materials and can be recycled. It is completely free from toxins and it works. It is so beautiful. So if you're interested in trying out this beautiful range, Beauty by BB, check out my link in the show notes. You can order this whole range and it will be posted directly to you, and I know you're going to love it. Today on the podcast, I have Regina from Holistic Healthcare Bathurst, who specializes in an amazing healing modality called Body Talk. Now, I heard about Regina's amazing work from a women's Facebook group actually, and I'd posted on there about this womb healing that I was really focused on throughout 2020, and somebody suggested Body Talk. And I connected with that person and she told me some more details about her experiences with Regina in particular. And I just felt so called to giving this healing a go. And I'm so glad I did, because it was so profound for me. So I knew that I had to get Regina on and share this amazing work on the podcast. So welcome, Regina, to Spiritual AF. I'm so glad to have you here.
Hello, beautiful girl. Hello, Pixie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I'm very passionate about Body Talk and very passionate about the work that I do. So I'm beyond honored for you to have me here. Thank you so much, lovely girl.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I can't wait to share this. So if we could start with focusing on you and your story, your journey to how you started doing this incredible work.
Okay, well, I'm 56. So 56, I have two children. My children are 34 and 32. I have three beautiful grandchildren in this realm, but of course I've got other grandchildren that haven't actually made it into this realm, but they still bless our heart, which is beautiful. I'm very honored for that. But I have had my own healing journey all my life. So I don't know, but I've experienced depression, I've had anxiety, panic attacks, and then, as a teenager, I had chronic fatigue, and I was anorexic for a long time. I've experienced cancer. So I kind of was always on a healing journey, and I've been a solo mum since my ex-husband left when I was pregnant with my beautiful boy, and I've just always found I just knew there was more for myself. I just knew there was more. I was born into a family that we were told who we were told what we had to do, and I just didn't feel like I didn't fit into that mold. And if I didn't know that my father wasn't my father, that he was my stepfather, I would have sworn I was adopted. So anyway, but it was a great journey, but in hindsight, it was pretty tough, and you just kind of move through it. But in 2014, my beautiful daughter, who was then 27, had an operation and was dying after this operation. And it took us 8 months within the medical system for me to actually find someone that would help us. Long story short, so she was rehabilitating with me here in Bathurst, and I was reading an article just online about nothing. They were just the most beautiful words I'd ever read, and I thought, who could write these beautiful words? And I turned over to the author, and all I saw was certified Body Talk practitioner. And I said to my daughter, I'm going to be that, and I'm going to do that in 3 months. We both looked at each other and I went, what? Who's that? I didn't say that. But that's exactly what I did. Everything just opened up, and everything just came through. Because at the time, Body Talk has evolved and grown so much, and we've got so many more practitioners here in Australia. But back in 2014, there wasn't a lot here, and we had to wait for instructors to come from overseas. It's not as connected as what it is now. Thank you to COVID that we've had this this whole online community open up where now I can get all my courses via the internet and the interweb, whereas I couldn't get that before. We needed to wait for international instructors to come out for us to advance. So, but everything just fell into place. And on my 50th birthday, I was certified and ready to roll, and then felt paralyzed because I was like going, where do I go from here? What do I do from now? And that's basically how I began. I started working from home. And prior to this, I was a personal trainer for more than 20 years. So that's how I raised my children as a solo mum. And I was able to still live my dream for them. And I was that in Sydney. So I worked in Neutral Bay and Mossman and Balmoral. And I was lovely and busy. And I was in Bathurst. There was no other body talk practitioners here, where it's about 36,000 people in our little rural community, which is beautiful. But I would be sitting here and I'd say to my son and crying, going, I don't think I can stay in Bathurst. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. And anyway, but I just plodded along. I didn't advertise because it was outside of the box, or I hadn't quite niched a way to express it, or hadn't found my tribe, so to speak. But I just plodded along and introduced it to as many people as I could, and they told their friends, and their friends told their friends. And before I knew it, I just knew I needed to move out of my home space. And then I approached other practitioners in town, but that didn't work out because I was offering a modality that was new, that encompassed all modalities. So I possibly might have been a bit of a threat, I say, or I'm not quite sure, but it just felt like I wasn't able to do that. So I approached a medical centre, and they allowed me to lease a room in the most beautiful heritage listed building, which I felt so honoured. I love architecture as well. And that's where I started to move from there. And then I moved to another place. So I'm in town. I've got a bigger place of my own. I'm on the main street opposite the most beautiful park, and I've renamed myself Body Talk Bathurst. And so that's my evolution. And I'm just so grateful that Bathurst has embraced not only Bathurst, but I have the whole local community and the surrounding hinterlands and suburbs, as well as, you know, internationally as well. So I have clients in Germany and Singapore, all over Australia. I feel really, really, really blessed. So that is my journey to how I came across Body Talk, lovely girl.
What an amazing story. And yeah, that's incredible. Of course, I do believe that everything happens to us for a reason, and sometimes we have these experiences to help, you know, direct us and put us on our path. And when you've learned how to heal yourself, of course you want to teach that to others. So that's just incredible that you felt that calling and you followed it, and you weren't limited by anything. Like, I honestly always wanted to be a school teacher. From 3 years old, that was my mission. I had everything set up in my bedroom to be a school teacher until my teens, where I experienced anorexia, and my whole life changed. And then I had the opportunity to do law, but that's when I kind of just moved into other things. It was interesting. I had no, I felt like I don't know if you've seen the first Jumanji movie, where Yes.
they've got and I'm in that, and whatever they did, they couldn't move from it because that was their path and that was exactly what they had to do. That's what I felt like. I felt like whatever was happening, I just had to follow it. But the biggest growth for me in the business was that I actually developed a cervical fibroid. And it grew and grew and grew, and I'm doing all of this beautiful work, feeling a bit ashamed and like a fraud, because I'm doing all this balancing work, and you know, I'm telling people that the body can heal itself, and my body's creating this. And seriously, I was really unwell. And they say fibroids cannot be cancerous, but when I had the fibroid taken out, because I did a session on myself, which I'll explain how that goes. My session was saying, you know, we're gathering all this stuff. Let us balance it. It's time to take it out. So I had it removed, and then my whole business just opened up. But the fibroid itself was cancerous. So I experienced that side of it. But I was so blessed, because I am more than certain that Body Talk kept everything contained in this massive, the ball was bigger than a basketball. So it was huge. I know. But it was, anyway, but after that was when my whole just took it to the next level. So it was, but I don't ever, and I say this to clients, I'm not healed. I'm always healing. I'm like everybody else. tapping myself out, taking, saying my own little mantras. And I, just like everybody else, I have my own healing journey. And, some days I can really get a hold of it, and some days I need to work harder, and some days I need to be in chaos in order to go to the next level and transform. So and like you, I believe nothing's random. Everything, there are no coincidences. We have a destiny or a path, and we are in that little Jumanji box, and we are a token in that, and we just move with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And the body is so amazing. And that's what I especially love about this healing modality. So if you could share now, what is Body Talk?
Well, Body Talk is for me, it's when I found Body Talk, I actually absolutely felt like I found my skin. I felt like I was home. I felt like I had a way to express and be who I really was innately through this amazing modality. So it is a whole healthcare system, and it is and it works on the body's natural ability to heal itself, its innate ability to heal itself, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. What's beautiful about it, it was devised by an Australian, Dr. John Valentine, in the early 1990s, I should say, and he and his wife Esther at the time put together this beautiful modality that just is so simple, effective, and the results are immediate. You don't have to wait. I often say to beautiful clients that sit before me that the beautiful person that sits here is not going to be the same beautiful person that walks out the door. You're going to experience a shift. You're going to experience a change. It's just, and it's immediate, and the results are compounding and from session to session. So that's what I really love. So I can go, do you want me to go in a little bit more detail?
I would love that. Yeah. If you could explain how, yeah.
Oh, for sure. So it is underpinned by two scientific models. The first one being that's quantum physics, and that being that everything, absolutely everything is connected. Everything. While we might look in the mirror and see ourselves as separate entities or separate units, that everything internally is interacting with everything internally and everything externally, us included. We are intimately involved with our environment and everyone close to us. And then we, in turn, this environment and ourselves are intimately involved universally. And that's a big concept to get our beautiful minds around. I understand that. But we also, as an observer, have the ability, the infinite potential to create our reality. And that is just mind-blowing. So that's the first one. And then the next one is this dynamic systems theory, and that is that every system internally is in constant communication with every other system, and that communication, that synchronization and balance allows for this beautiful functioning, and that every part of your body is connected. So, your eyes can connect it to your liver, your knees, to your kidneys and your ears. There is this intimate relationship that happens. We don't break you up. So, we look at you as a whole person with a whole story. We have 50 trillion cells. Every cell is, as I said, in constant communication with every other cell. Every cell knows what every other cell's doing. That blows my mind. So that's crazy. Fancy having 50 trillion friends on Facebook and everyone knowing what everyone's doing. We'd be up all night liking and loving and boo-hooing. It'd be crazy. But anyway, when all of these when you've got this beautiful synchronicity within the body, I often say to clients, for me, that's like when you're first in love. When you're first in love, doesn't everything look absolutely beautiful? You don't feel unwell. You feel like you're in this bliss state that you could float around. That's how I portray that sense of feeling that synchronicity and that balance and that communication internally. So when we have that, and I'm sure we feel it other times as well, but we're much more in sync when we are in that beautiful bliss state of love. And the brain isn't scattered, and it can actually coordinate everything and the jobs of the body. Then we have healing and growth that happens naturally. And that's emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, not just on one level, but on every level of the body. However, we have stress. So stress can be, again, emotional, mental, physical. It can be environmental, hereditary. Now, we think stress only builds up over the couple of days we know it, but stress actually builds up over a lifetime. So with Body Talk, we look at from your utero experience, and then, of course, all the way up until where you are now. Now, from our in utero experience up until 7 years old, we are actually given our rule book or our belief systems. And your family go, here we go, beautiful Pixie, go and live your life. Go and have a lovely life. And of course, in the beginning, we're going, oh, woohoo, the best book I've ever read. I love everything in it. And then we start going along and we go, oh gosh, no way. I nearly swore then. I go, oh gosh, no way. Don't like that page. Can't do that page. Whoa, I don't want to do that. But we often don't know how to release that, to let that go. We're so busy and so focused on doing it the way we've been told that sometimes it's great for some people and they will do that for the rest of their lives. But I remember feeling like I was in porcelain, that I just wanted to break out. I just didn't know how to do it. That's how I felt growing up. I was mute. I didn't speak because it wasn't worth speaking, because otherwise I was oversensitive, I was aloof, or I was over shy, or a martyr. It was always had these labels on me, but I just knew if I could take them off, I'd be able to breathe. So we have and these stressors, they actually take away the communication. They break up that beautiful bliss state in the body. And then all the systems in the cells can't communicate. And then we have symptoms. And of course, a symptom is the last stage of imbalance in the body. It's where the body goes, hold on a minute, you're not been listening to me. You don't know what, we've got to get this back on track. So, and that's when the body's screaming out for help. So just throw out this imbalance that way. Now, Body Talk's goals are to actually reset the nervous system, but it wants to realign or open up the lines of communication again. It wants to have synchronization, to reestablish synchronization and balance within the body. And these are actually the three basic principles of that dynamic theory systems that we were talking about earlier. But how does Body Talk do that? So it actually incorporates the new and the old. So it brings in Western medicine and all these beautiful traditional healing methods, integrates them beautifully, and then it applies it to us. But it looks at us as a whole person with a whole story. We don't break up anything. We don't diagnose or prescribe. And we look at the whole story. So every choice that you have made and every experience you have had, that for me blows my mind, because we as humans will attach to certain defining moments, and I'll have clients say, oh, it happened then, Regina, or it happened here. But when we delve into the session, and of course we look into the subconscious, so if we were to consider you as an iceberg, that top 10% is your conscious self. That's where you are now. And we address that as well. But the part under the water, that 90%, the subconscious self, for me is like a submarine. And it only comes up, we only see a submarine when it comes up. And our submarine comes up when we've been triggered. So, we have memories, we have active memories, we have traumas, we have belief systems, we have all this patterning that sits in there. That's where we delve. That's where Body Talk looks at, as well as the conscious self, but it does delve into that subconscious as well. So the whole person. But clients will say, it's this, and then the subconscious will open up its beautiful bag or its doors or its hood, and it'll say, it happened when you were 2, and it was at this particular time. So it just blows my mind. But again, I'll go into a little bit more detail how we actually get there. So we've looked at you as a whole person with a whole story, and then all of the decisions and choices that you've made. Now, as a practitioner, I have the most beautiful toolkit. So as you can see behind me, beautiful, and I've got my protocol behind me, which for me is a roadmap or a protocol of medicine actually, but it's a roadmap. So we navigate this roadmap. We facilitate a yes and a no. So that is not muscle testing, but muscle checking. Different to applied kinesiology. I'm not a kinesiologist, but I know that it's different. For us, that sets up a physical line of communication, so the intuitive parts of us can interact. This is where we find out what the innate's job or the innate's recipe for healing is, because that's essentially what we're looking at. In Body Talk, we won't address the symptom. In Body Talk, we look at the root cause. So I have my protocol, I facilitated a yes and a no, and what I do is I navigate this chart by asking a specific set of questions. What is the priority of healing for today? What is the priority of healing for today? If you came to the session tomorrow or the day before, the session will be completely different, because you've had different experiences to get to where you are today. And of course, your innate comes in, again, like I said, with its own recipe, and it has its own agenda on how it needs to heal. It's providing a different alternative for the stress loop that our brain or our body gets into. So what we're doing is we're creating a beautiful formula or a story. and we're connecting up the broken communication circuits. An example, we might say, if we've gone through and the body says, okay, Pixie, we're going to look at your left knee. We've got to there. And you'll hear us say, we'll say further, more specific, because we want to know whereabouts in the left knee do we need to go to? Inside the knee, outside the knee, around the knee. But I'm hearing we're going to the whole left knee. Okay, and I'll say our details are priority. And then that means, because we're intimately connected to everything around us, especially our environment and everything close to it. Now, of course, I'll say we use the word orientation. Is orientation a priority? And if we get a yes, I'll say, okay, I've got a whole list of options to go through. But I'm hearing a no, so we get a no. Is definition a priority? Of course, again, we need to go internally. Remember, everything's connected. So we're finding the story or the attachment, the emotional attachment within. Again, I've got a whole list, and I'll go through that and I'll find the details. So what we come out with is with a beautiful item. The first part we need to look at, all of its the story around that. Then we're going to say, what do we need to connect that to? What do we need to open the lines of communication up to or with? And the body your innate wisdom will guide us to where else it needs to go. Where are the lines broken down of communication? What needs to be addressed here and how it needs to be addressed? We just keep doing that until the body gives us this beautiful formula, which is another way of working, another option for the body to get out of its stress. And then we go, okay, is it time to implement? That means, can we tap this out? So we're going to tap on your head brain, or the head, the sternum, and the navel. By tapping on the head, what are we doing? We're saying to the brain, or we're causing what we call a standing wave. A standing wave is like a tsunami. It lifts everything up and replaces it. And what it does is it gets the brain to evaluate the current health of the body, look at the new frequencies that are in this formula or this story, and then balances it out, brings it in, makes the changes. This is the make it the change. This is the brain makes the changes. That's what its job is to do. Tapping on here now. If we were to connect up to an EEG machine, you would see that in a non-body talk scenario, there is still a lot of activity when you start tapping on the brain. In a body talk scenario or situation, when you do this, the brain goes crazy. You can see the activity is huge. It's making the changes. Then when we tap on your sternum, what we're actually doing is saving that in new energy the new energy connections, because the job of the heart is to communicate the health of the body via the heartbeat. How cool is that? Do we ever hear of heart cancer? Absolutely not. Mm. This energy of the heart is 60 to 100 times stronger than any other energy field of the body. How amazing is that? Mm. The wisdom, and we all hold, when we say who we are, what do? We all hold our heart. Isn't it amazing? So I get blown away when you get a chance to place your hand on the heart of a client or on that area there in the chest. You get so much information, and you can just feel that there. So for me, that's just wow. I'm always blown. I'm a big heart girl. I love the heart. I love love. I love the heart. So it kind of goes, it's beautiful. And our blood carries our essence, our vitality, our passion for life. How amazing is that? Yeah. So we are so blessed. And then tapping on the navel, that actually says to the body, go and digest it, assimilate it, make it ours, integrate it through the whole body mind. Now, we just keep doing that until the body says, that's enough. I've got my story. I've done my balancing for today. That's it. A big breath after that. But that's what it's involved. And as you would have experienced, that's what happened with you. And then the body will either indicate if there's another session that's due, or the client can indicate when they would like to come back. Yeah. And after a session, you see immediate changes. So when energy is blocked, and you felt this yourself, you can take big breaths. You might be yawning. You might feel tingling all through your body. I've had hands shake. I've had heads bang. I've had people burp. I've had people fart. I've had someone, vomit. So, and it's if energy and emotions especially are blocked, that's people feel it rush up and they get taken back, because not many people like to cry in front of other people. I understand that completely. And I always say to a client, our space is safe where we work together. It's very safe. It's really yummy. I'm going to look after you. I'm going to hold that space for you. So it's good to do it here together. And because emotion is not a bad thing. Our body produces certain emotions as a fuel, just like we put petrol and diesel in a car to get the car to do what it needs to do. That's what emotions are for our body. So joy and sadness, they are the same emotion but different expressions of each other, and they allow us to be reflective and grateful. And then we have, what the stomach and the spleen generate worry. Well, worry is all about creating solutions. And then we have grief, which is all about dispersion, releasing and letting things go. And then we have this fear. Fear is about creating boundaries and keeping us safe. It is actually the energy that lets us say no. Mm. So it's only our beliefs around them, and only if we hold them in and don't let them mobilize and do their job within the body. Now, unfortunately, we all hold things in, and we all, and then of course the emotions will make their way to a certain part of the body and manifest and become toxic, and then they create pain, and they're a chemical reaction. So it's amazing. Anyway, that's me yabbling on, lovely girl.
No, it's so incredible. And I love, although I'm obviously very spiritually minded and, very open to that thing, you don't have to sort of explain how things work. I absolutely love the science behind things. So it's, the science behind this healing modality is really incredible. And you're absolutely right in that release response, especially crying. Like it's a release response, and it's so important. I know for my sessions, my quantum healing sessions, I feel like I haven't done a healing, like if they haven't cried, we haven't quite got there. But if they've cried, I'm like, yep, got them, that's good. It's so good to cry.
Well, there was a saying when I first started Body Talk that if you, it's not a session if you don't have tears in the ears.
Yes. Yeah.
You're wiping them away.
Yes.
But, look, and some people aren't used to crying because they view that their belief system is that they are weak and that vulnerability isn't being safe. I've experienced where I've shown being vulnerable in my family, and it's opened up a gateway for a sense of criticism. It allows judgment to take place because, that's the dynamics of a family are really interesting. So I closed that off for a long time. I needed to reestablish that. I think the hardest thing as a parent is when you are in this work and then you turn and you view you look at the big picture of your own children and you go, oh, there's those beliefs, there's those cycles, but it's sometimes you can try and move them through, but maybe I'm not the generation to do that. And that was coming to accept that I'm maybe not the generation to do that. Maybe there's more experience to be had to really understand that needed to change on a different level, or someone else needed to hold that banner. I'm not quite sure, but it's I always get blown away by that anyway. So
oh yeah, definitely. So I'd love to talk a bit about the different reasons why people might be interested in a Body Talk session. So as I mentioned, my focus was around womb healing. And I'm trying to recall, it was a little while ago now, a couple of months ago from my session, but I definitely more had that focus around womb healing. And I remember we sort of briefly talked about a few other things, that those surface level problems that I might have been having. But interestingly, talking about that release that the body creates after the session was I actually got my menstrual cycle very early after my I think it was a couple of days after the session I got my cycle, and it wasn't due for a good week or more. So that was really incredible for me. Like you could really feel that shift and releasing. So what are some other reasons why people might come and get a Body Talk session?
It's okay. I'm going to jump back for a second because you said that your focus was, or your attention for the session was, that you'd like to address that womb healing. But we may have never even I know we did, but with some clients, their attention or their focus or their hasn't even actually come up, and yet it's still been addressed again because everything internally is related. But with you, lovely girl, because I don't know why, but your body, but maybe it just obviously needed to resync you and get you back into some sort of yumminess internally because it wasn't, at its optimum. And that's what it wants to be. always functioning and doing its best. But I have clients or people come, gosh, I am, and what I share now, I'm allowed to share because some clients are really lovely and say, yes, you can share my details, which is wonderful because everything is confidential. I'm bound by the duty of care, just like every other practitioner. But I do have the okay and the permission to speak about from some clients' perspective, which is beautiful. But infertility, I have endometriosis, depression and anxiety is a very big one, not just in adults, but in young children. That just takes my breath away because, but what I love about it is I love that parents feel comfortable to bring them to me. I love that the child just surrenders and knows that they're in a place. And look, seriously, I have parents that will say they never lie still. They don't have to lie still when they come in, but they just, they close and they close their eyes and they open up their spirit and their soul and themselves up. Every energy system becomes alive and then they just enjoy it. Nothing seems abnormal to them. Whatever's happening seems absolutely normal, and I love that. And they heal quickly because their innate wisdom knows what to do, and it's boom, it gets it done. But of course, we can have migraines. You can come with sexual abuse, which again is a big one too. Look, people can come because they just feel that things aren't right for them, that they just feel that there's something not quite right. They don't know what it is. Some people come because they want to establish their purpose, and then they find out that I had this with a client who started last year. So she was dead set, got to find my purpose, that's it. But what's happened after 2 sessions is that she started healing the foundation of her family. So she divorced over 30 years ago, but always thought she did the greatest job that she possibly could. But she's a perfectionist at that particular, that's how she labels herself. And so she realized that how she now sees it is completely different. So her perception, talking about, how we said we are the observer, we can create our reality. So just by those 2 sessions has changed her viewing, her potential of looking at what she looks at, and she's seen what she's actually done with her family. So that opened up a whole narrative for talking and healing between her children. Then with her grandchildren. So that's just 2 sessions. That blows me away. I had another I just share this story because this I cried with a client. He had been in and out of doctor's surgery since he was 18 when he came to see me, and very much was socially not able to interact. He didn't like his job. He was at home and didn't like living at home. His parents had always had him he was anxious, depressed. He was on medication. I think they had him on medication since he was 6, he said. Anyway, he came for the session. At the end, lots of things came up, and there is a part of the session where you can, in a part of the chart where we work with perception, and we worked a lot with that. And when he opened his eyes, I immediately burst into tears because he opened his eyes like he was just born, and he started to cry. I was crying, and he said to me, he goes, Regina, he's just looking around the room like a brand newborn baby, just looking around. And he says, Regina, he said, I've never seen colour. I got goosebumps talking about this.
Goes, I have goosebumps.
My tears are watering, my eyes are watering, my tears are watering, my eyes are watering.
Oh,
and
my God.
He goes, I've never seen colour. He said, I've never seen colour. He said, I've only ever seen grey or black. He said, I haven't seen anything else. And anyway, he had one more session. I see him in town now. This was a couple of years ago, and he's filled out. He moved out of home. He got a new job. He's got a whole new tribe. And yeah, of course, every time we hug, I saw him and we hugged each other, and I just said, look at you. I said, look at you. It's going to make me cry, feeling a bit like I'm going to go like this.
It feels so emotional.
And I see miracles and experience miracles every day. Now, and as I said to you, beautiful girl, I'm not the healer. Your innate highlights the priorities. It doesn't work with the symptoms. It looks at it says, I know what I need to do to heal. I need to provide this other alternative. Let me do this. We have the modality. We're so lucky we have the modality to do that. And so miracles happen every day. There was one more lovely girl that came in, and she was very, very, she was very overweight, and and she was very unhappy in her marriage, and anyway, they wanted to have children. Anyway, she had one session, or actually 2 sessions, but the second session was the last time I saw her. And in Body Talk, if I sense that there's been abuse, you can't. Legally I cannot highlight that. That is not my job to do that. That is up to the client to come to come through to them. To if it's they're meant to remember it, they'll remember it on their own terms. That's not what legally I cannot do that, and I would never do that. Anyway, I had seen what I had seen. It comes through for me like a movie, and I've always been like that, so it's not new. Comes through like a movie, and I just have to go back again that we are all intuitive. I'm not the only one. You're intuitive. Everybody is intuitive. It's just if we've skilled it, and it's if we listen to it. And of course, with Body Talk, we have other there's other parts of the system that we can actually do to get our intuition up and strong, and that's what it's all about. It does that too. But anyway, so we had the session, and she came up, but I didn't bring that up. That came through, and she sat up and she actually told me. She said to me what had happened, and then in her life, and when she was 13, and once she released it, it was amazing. She had a big cry, and then she's just sitting here crying, but her face just completely changed. Her eyes, the color of her eyes just changed, and she sat there, and I went, I should have taken a photo of you when you first came in. You don't look the same. I said, you look completely different. She said, Regina, again, we started to cry. I don't always cry, but I don't always cry. I'm very good, but sometimes it's a beautiful thing to see. It's not that I'm attached to the outcome. It's that it's such a beautiful thing to see the body heal in front of you. That's just the most beautiful thing. You can almost see the unlayering and the unraveling and the unmasking happening in front of you. And she said, I feel different, Regina. I feel different. I did see her in town, and she had lost her protective layer, her weight. She had lost that. She was pregnant, and her whole life had changed. She was moving. Now that just blows me away. See, there are things like that I'm not responsible for that. That is, of course, the innate healing is responsible for that. You are responsible for that. But that's the gift. I just have a chance to, as I said to you, to go and look in your energetic garden, and that in itself gives me goosebumps to have that honor to do that, because I don't take that lightly. I'm pretty very, very respectful about being in someone else's space and having that honor of being able to use the modality to see what the innate wants to, what the priorities for healing are, to implement and allow the body to go through its healing processes there. But yeah, it is a beautiful, I can talk about it forever. It is a beautiful modality.
Oh, so incredible. And thank you for sharing those stories. They're so special.
Us having our little tears.
I just was right there with you in that. Oh my goodness.
And even with young children that come in with especially with eating disorders and that anxiety, and that blows me away. But I had one young girl that was seriously anorexic. 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, she had completely. That was me seeing her 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I saw her 4 times. She's just got it, just healed.
That's amazing.
I wish that when I see that, I go, gosh, I wish I had Body Talk back when I was, from 13 to 30. And when on my 30th birthday, I just stopped all the physical. I had that mind mess. It just keeps going and going until, of course, I started Body Talk. And then that's when my whole life opened up and I changed. So,
yeah. And even my session, it was absolutely immediate. Yes. I felt completely different, and I actually felt, I don't know how to describe it, but afterwards I just felt like really vulnerable, and like I just needed to just sort of stay on the couch for the day, or, just really I couldn't go out. I didn't have all this energy or anything like that. I was I just need to rest, I think. And then, especially after my cycle had finished, it was like, Wow. And I haven't had any, so since that body talk session, I haven't had any flashbacks from my sexual assault, and yeah, no longer having any sort of pain during sex or any of that. It's just all
Wow.
gone.
That memory, that active memory, and that's what active memory is. The memory still exists, but we release the emotional charge is released, that connection or that attachment to it, which is huge. Now, what you experienced, beautiful girl, when you spoke, what you spoke about then, there's that healing. I love to say to clients, it's the healing corridor, because with a session, you are on a massage table. You are nice and cuddled up. If you're seeing me in person, if you're seeing me by distance, I ask clients if they can be in a comfy space in their home. If we do it by Zoom or if we do it by remotely where they get a summary of the session, it's different. If they want to listen to it, then I say, please be comfy. But in my space, you're on a massage table. And so you don't really always feel, well, why some people will shift and do all their shifting and changing immediately in the session. Sometimes the body it does take 24 hours because we need to move through that 24-hour clock, that cycle of the body, and it moves through the emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual levels of that. But sometimes it might take a little bit of extra time. So I always like to say yes after a session, and everyone is individual because every session is individual. It's like, coming in with a headache, but everyone has a different stressors around that and different causes around that. So it is like walking through a corridor, healing corridor. Sometimes, like for you, you felt like you needed to be soft with yourself, be soft and be kind, and you sit and you just sit with it. But it doesn't last forever. It just lasts for those moments or that time. You honor that and the body goes, oh, thank you. And then it just can go straight through. Sometimes for myself, I've experienced where I have needed to just be quiet, to sit, to be still. I have felt very tired. It's a big job for the body to make all the changes and to do the work. And you do get tired. And sometimes you might feel like you're going into a bit of quicksand. Sometimes then you come up and you're going through the forest and, but I promise you, I say to clients, the door at the end is open and it will open. Sunshine's there. We just need to get there. And it's not hard. It just means we've got to be uncomfortable with, or be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's the shifting. And when we're in that sense of being uncomfortable, there's change. But when we're in chaos, that's where transformation exists. And I've felt, I'm sure that you have in your healing as well, felt that, oh my God, I'm going crazy. This is chaotic. This is too much and materia. And then all of a sudden you move through it, and then it's like you've crawled yourself up to the next level and you're having a look over and you go, I've got it up here. I can actually do this. This is good. I'll move to the next space of being. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, beautiful. I also love how you say you're not the healer, that the greatest healer comes within you. And
Yes.
I love that because I feel like in a big way you've really released any ego around this healing, and you're working with the body. I love how you say that as well. You're working with the body, you're communicating with the body, you're not forcing the body to be a certain way. And
no, it's so important to honor. And as I say to clients, if don't be mute in the session while we're working subconsciously and consciously, but sometimes you got to say something to me. Don't be mute. This is your session. And sometimes what you're holding on to is the key to that that moment of release. But you are the healer. You are doing all the work. It is just, what I love about it with Body Talk as well is that you come in, you fill out your forms, and I get all the information about you. If you went to another modality, let's just say we'll do it. No, I won't say what it is, but we go to another modality. They're going through all your forms and they're going through the archives and going, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. I have this beautiful information, which is just, it gives me a chance to look at how you speak, to how the words that are important to you, where the pain is. But essentially, that is just the depth of the information. But you are the one that lets us know. The innate wisdom lets us know where we need to go. I don't have to do that. And that in itself is so powerful. That's what I love. And that's why the healing it stays, because once that new circuitry information is placed into the heart, it stays. And it doesn't go anywhere, because that is the new way of being for that body. For the heart says, I'm going to pass that out. This goes to the cells. All the office workers run out and say, Pixie's doing it differently. Pixie's doing it differently. Run around everybody and tell everybody. And everyone's having a party. Sometimes I see that like Pac-Man. Sometimes I see that like little flamingos. I see all different things. I hear different things, but I bring clients on that journey with me. I'm a big talker in a session. I'm not very, I admire lots of other practitioners, and especially the people that teach me and the advanced practitioners and instructors. And I think I'm going to be like that. I so want to be like that. And I just can't be like that. I just love, because I get excited. I get excited of the potential of the body, the infinite potential. We are limitless. We are limitless. We just need to lift things off, and we are not lost. We are certainly not finding ourselves with body talk. We are on the most beautiful archaeological dig. That's what I think. We are just shifting things aside. Sometimes they shift aside very easily, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes we've got to work a little bit harder, and it comes back to that. But essentially, the work that we've done in the session and the way it's come up in the session doesn't get addressed again, because it's been saved. It's been taken in. The body knows how to work. It knows communication lines and circuits have all been opened up. Balance, that resynchronization and that communication. So it is amazing. Anyway.
It really is. So can you talk a little bit around how the body responds to you? So I know you've mentioned you see things, you hear things, and also I remember in my session, you would notice when I was breathing, like, yeah.
But how I see the body shifting is, I see lots of things during a session, and I believe also my job is to create awareness around that. Remember, as the observer, we can create our reality. So if I'm seeing something for you and I see it and you feel it, I highlight it, because then you're creating awareness around it and it's really happening.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different scenario than if you're doing it and I'm in my mind, I'm going, oh, there's a shift. But as soon as I said, oh, beautiful Pixie, you can feel your whole body open up. It's like I thought it was like a file that left you. Didn't we saw like a file or an old drawer of stuff and you can see, I can see that. You can feel that.
Yeah.
You have that breath in, and the breath then reevaluates the health of the body. You know, the breath is important because it scans the frequencies of the body. The breath in, the high frequencies, the breath out, the low frequencies. So the body's always healing all the time. Then you go back in and you could feel yourself go back into another layer. You could feel yourself sink into yourself then. And then it happened again. And then it happened again. That's how I just feel that and can see that, and I can take it, just everything. That's the best. Again, we're all different as practitioners, but that's how I create awareness around that, because for me that's important, because a lot of clients come into a session and they don't have any concept of self. They are very good at thinking what they are, but they have no concept of feeling what they are. They're two very different things. If I ask you how you are, oh, I think I'm okay. No, how do you feel? Do you feel okay? How do you feel? Some people go, oh God, I don't know. You know, they say, I don't know. So I've had just clients go on that journey. That's a beautiful journey to go on. I nearly said you had a shift then because I saw your body breathe and I released something from your back and I've gone, oh, and that's why, anyway, sorry, I just.
Yeah, well, honestly, I really appreciated that in the session, because even though I feel like I am really connected to my body and my feelings and emotions and even my breath, I do a lot of breath work and that sort of thing. But when you would say, oh, you've just had a shift, or I would be like, oh, I did. Like, you know, and it cemented it.
When I asked you, did you feel that? You said, yes. What did that feel like? How did that feel for you? And then you highlighted what that felt. And then you highlighted, well, I felt something relief. I feel lighter. There we go. You're already recreating a new reality, new infinite potential for yourself. That's huge. How cool is that?
It is.
Yeah.
So you also offer group body talk sessions. So are they much different from your one-on-one sessions?
Well, with especially with Body Talk or the International Body Talk Association, they offer group sessions. And I just had this drive one year that I just needed to reach more people. But I felt like I needed to reach more people, not in a way that was remote, but in a way that I could bring them into the space and we could be part of a healing dynamic together. So I set up, that's when I moved from the medical centre, because there was only a small room, I had the opportunity to take a space in town and house this for belief systems. When I was looking at another upstairs office, and there was a gentleman that I had been introduced to, and I took a pathway to go a different way, and he was riding by, and he calls me Jeannie, and I'm going, Jeannie, oh, that's me. Hey. And I said, hey, how you going? And he said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm just taking 3 days off for some, I was doing some business development. This was looking for a new space and getting myself ready for what I wanted to do. And he said, what do you mean? He said, I'm looking at a space. He goes, why don't you come to me? And he said, he took me to his space. Straight away, I walked in there and went to myself. And this was my self-talk. You're not good enough. You're not good enough for this, Regina. You're not good enough. And he's there talking, and all I could hear with these voices, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. So how about that for patterning and being, and I'm looking, and I had tears in my eyes, and he goes, what's wrong? I said, because I've got these voices that are telling me I'm not good enough. He said, I want you in here. He said, what are we going to do to get you in here? And that was it. And so then I had this beautiful space in this heritage listed building opposite the most beautiful park in town. And it was back in the 1800s. It was the main shopping centre of Bathurst. And the part that I had was the walkway from the back to the front. Underneath, they parked the horses. It was just, the energy is so beautiful. So anyway, I spent time doing it up. But my goal, what I could see in my head, was to rebrand myself. I still have Holistic Healthcare Bathurst as the branding, but I also have now go under Body Talk Bathurst. So whoever finds me both ways, they can find me both ways. But and Body Talk Bathurst was about establishing a group healing as well, but just with I had 4 tables. It was beautiful, set up with 4 tables. And every client gets a chance to be the surrogate for the session. So they get a chance we have a theme for the session. And then just because we all have stressors, okay, they all have similar stressors, but they manifest differently within us. And when you bring a group collective together and all of the energy of that, all of the healing with that, I couldn't sleep after these sessions. I was awake all night going, that was so exciting. I had people sitting up saying that, they've never felt so loved. I had one girl said to me that was so intense that she was sweating, so everything was just amazing. One little girl fell pregnant from the session that she had as a group, and she had multiple miscarriages. So we had lots of different groups happening all the time. Some were run under depression and anxiety. They were the theme, chronic fatigue, in the inner voice, the inner critic. I ran the sessions with a theme, and then people could book in online for that. So it wasn't me having to do so much of the groundwork like I do with one-on-one. But then last year I decided that I wanted to move out of the medical centre and just make this my permanent home, and that's what I did. So, but I do couples. So I work a lot with couples, with families, with groups like that. So it opens up my sphere for them to have that, still to stay in the one-on-one. I do all of that remotely and by distance as well. But it's a very powerful way of healing. But as I said to clients, I said, the hardest thing you'll need to do is walk into a space and see 3 other, because it's only for 4 of us, 3 other people that you don't know. But then I went to a shopping centre before, last year, of course, before we couldn't go to shopping centres so easily. But they're all sitting there in these big communal things on their phones, not talking, but just sitting next to each other. They don't know each other. I thought if they could do that, we must be able to heal together. And that's where that's what I thought. I thought, but not everyone likes that. Not everyone feels comfortable with that. I understand that as well. But anyway, I love doing it. And but the difference is that it's just a very strong, it just brings everything together.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you've also got a lymphatic drainage offering. Could you explain what that is?
Well, that is also part of the Body Talk, and that's called the Veltine method of lymphatic drainage. And the lymph system is part of the circulatory system, and it's quite underrated. It doesn't have its own pump, so it works off breath and it works off movement. Now, what is lymph? Lymph is a sewer system of the body. It's the yummiest. If we didn't move, if lymph didn't move, we'd be dead in 8 hours. That's how toxic lymph is. But so what we're doing is the focus, because it's not a massage, and you say fully clothed, but we work on areas of the body that allow to move what we call interstitial fluid through. So all the fluid that the cells and the tissues bathe in. So, for example, if you thought of filling up a bath and that was your bath water for the next 8 weeks. You weren't allowed to fill it or change it. You got in there, you cleaned yourself, and you got out. You got in there and cleaned yourself and got out. That stagnant pool of water, that yummy bath water, doesn't stay yummy for very long. And that's what happens with the cells and the tissues. If they're in this interstitial fluid that is stagnant, it becomes, and any level of stagnation causes dis-ease and imbalance. So the focus is to move this fluid, move it through the 400 to 800 lymphatic nodes that we have, the nodes there, make its way up to the heart and back into the blood. So it's always being cleaned out. Now, lymph holds it holds all of your thoughts, concepts, your low self-esteem. As I said, it's a sewer system. It moves things out. It regulates our fluid. And especially what I find with this treatment is that it works beautifully for any pelvic congestion, for any sinus, for headaches. It works for working and regulating the bowels, for sleep, for arthritis, for joint pain, for back pain. It just works on so many different levels, and it's lovely because it supports the immune system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So for me, it is a yummy, 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 yummy treatment to do. And it was actually devised by Dr. John Veltine, to help get people into their clinics or their practice so that they could talk about body talk. We still use the concept of making sure that we tune in with what the body needs, and that's in that space. If we need to release, if an emotion needs to be released along the way, that comes through. But outside of that, the main focus is the sweeping and scooping to make sure that the interstitial fluid is free-flowing and not stagnant. So it's very yummy.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, I'd love to know, what is your number one spiritual practice? So something that you might do every day, or something that you always come back to when you need it?
Every day, lovely girl. For me, it's not spiritual as so much as it just fills my heart and my soul, is that I will always wake up and I always thank my God, my universal God, for my day, for my sleep, because I never used to sleep. So I'm always grateful for sleep. I seriously only slept 45 minutes to an hour a night. I just couldn't sleep because I was always scared. And I always thank, and I always say, I have exactly what I need for the day is within me. I have it all. Before my head lifts the pillow, I know I have exactly what I need for my day. It lies within me. I open up my blinds and I see the sun and I sing a little song to the sun, and then I go on with my day. I do that every day. And I always make sure I look out at my view. So I've got a big oak tree in the back and I can see all the mountains. I am a water girl. I love the beach, but I just imagine that the beach is just over there, which it just is, because Sydney's not that far away from me, 3 hours. I see my daughter over there. And I just imagine I can smell the ocean, because I lived and lived in the northern beaches, so just behind in Queenscliff there, which was very yummy. And I used to walk along Manly. But I just imagine I can smell everything and I breathe it in, and that's what I do every day. So, and when I go to bed, I thank my God, whatever it is, for my day as well. So that is my thing.
Yeah, what a perfect way to start the day. How can you go wrong after that? That's, yeah.
Well, sometimes I still have then my own anxiety afterwards, I still have a little bit of but it all comes together. As long as I take that time to do that, and that's what I do.
Yeah, perfect. Now, what is something that has helped you on your journey? So this could be a healing, apart from body talk, anything else. If it's a book or even a quote, like something that has helped you and you'd love to share with other people.
My biggest turn, as I said, I always knew there was something more. But in the 80s, I was given You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
Yes.
That for me became my Bible. And then moving through this, through my life, my quote was, this too shall pass. And I would say to myself, this too shall pass, Regina, this too shall pass. And I just had to say that. And then I would look down and I would know that I'm always held. Even if I felt the most alone, I always knew I was held by Mother Earth. And I would feel my feet and Mother Earth just hold me. So they're my three things that I've always turned to.
They so resonate.
Yeah, and I do always say to clients too, when it feels so dark, we know that the most beautiful flower can grow from the crack in the cement. We just need to look for that crack. You just need to look for that crack in the cement. You just need to look for that light. It is there. You just need to look for it. that's what it is there. So yeah.
Yeah.
Things lovely.
Yes, and I feel like, of course, a lot of people relate to that You Can Heal Your Life book. I've
Oh,
done nearly a whole episode on that, and that's one of it's in my top 10 listened episodes around affirmations and gratitude and that sort of thing.
it was so far ahead of her time. Let's face
Oh,
it.
yes.
My book is got everything in it. It's just full. It's like it's just a textbook on its own. I can feel my life in that book. It was
Yes.
a very big turning point for me, that one.
Yes.
I was only in my early 20s, so very early. So it was very defining.
Yes. And also that quote, this too shall pass.
Too shall
That's got
pass.
me through a lot of dark days, especially being a solo mum. And I often say that to my friends that are, solo parenting or having a difficult time, especially with babies that won't sleep. Like, yeah, this too shall pass. It will not last forever.
No, and it doesn't. We think it will. You think you will turn around. I turned around on my children. I turned around and go, holy moly, where'd that time go?
Yes.
They're in their 30s and they're just doing exactly what they're doing. And I'm the umbilical cord. I'm trying to get it back. Come back. They're just doing exactly what they are. It is, but it does go. We just don't know in that moment that it does go. And I truly believe my mother only gave me 2 good pieces of advice, but one of them was, if it gets too much, like in the house, if it all looks too much, get out of the house. Go for a walk. Go for a walk, because when you come back, it's going to look better. And I love that, because it's true. When it's all too much, and it's the same thing as when you're feeling it's just everything's closing in. Go outside, go in and breathe nature, go in and look up and look out. Don't take your phone, don't take anything in your ears. Go and listen and really feel your body connect into everything. Sorry, I'm just looking at my beautiful nature as I'm looking out there. But it's just connect in. We forget to do that, and we are connected. We are you can feel it. You can feel that vibration. We just have to allow it. So, yeah.
Yes, 100%. Well, this has been just so amazing. I'm so, so glad that we were able to do this. And I thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom. And I hope people are open to accessing this healing modality because, it's truly life-changing and transformational.
Beautiful. And what's beautiful is that you can go on to what's called the IBA, the International Body Talk Association. It's under bodytalksystem.com, and you can find a practitioner that resonates beautifully with you. It doesn't, you can find someone close by or far. There's so many beautiful practitioners around. You can experience it. We all do it differently. We all have this same base, the foundation, but we all bring to the table our own experiences, our own other learnings and expertise in that. But it's so accessible there. And they do offer a 1-day course called Access, Body Talk Access. And that actually gives 5 of the techniques, because we do have techniques in Body Talk, which I didn't highlight, but 5 of the techniques that will help with healing and preventing and working and keeping the body and the innate wisdom and all of that communication and balance and synchronization happy within. So there's so many tools, and on there as well, there is another tool. You can see Dr. John Beltine do our foundational, what we call balancing the brain, which is called the cortices technique. That is all on there. We didn't get into techniques. Sorry, lovely girl. I get carried away with everything else. But it's just the most beautiful resource for healing. And I'm going to sound like Molly Meldrum. Do yourself a favor and check it out and have a look and explore it, because it's a beautiful way of being and healing. It's very nice. So
yes, definitely. And I'll make sure to link all of that in the show notes for people. But if people have loved what they've heard today and they'd love to follow you on your journey and connect with you, potentially booking in their own body talk sessions with you, what's the best way that they can connect with you?
I am on website. I am on Facebook. So I'm under Holistic Healthcare Bathurst. holistichealthcarebathurst.com.au. That's one website. Or I'm on bodytalkbathurst.com.au. And both of those are on Facebook as well. So you'll find me on those. Anyway, I'm going on email, text, however you want to communicate, I'm there. Email's a bit slower, text is a bit faster, but whatever works best for the person is what I'm good with as well. So
great.
I have to say, once people make their mind up to take themselves on this journey, the body starts healing straight away. because
Yes.
inside it's going, yippee, 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 yippee. It's very exciting.
Yes, I love that. And yeah, that's the same with your quantum healing sessions and your like landmark. I've spoken about that in previous episodes of professional and personal development that really helps with all that mind stuff and letting go of the past and that sort of thing. But it starts the moment you book in.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Even then, when it comes to the session, if you've decided that the session isn't right for you in that time, the healing's taken place. That's the body's done what it needed to do, and when you come back, it's ready to do it again. And most clients, once if they don't go forward with the first session, they will always come back again because it does come back and catch up. But it's still, the body's amazing. We are so lucky and so clever. So anyway,
It
thank you.
really is.
Thank you, beautiful girl. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Thank you so much. Wow, I feel so alive after having that conversation with Regina. She is so incredibly beautiful and heartwarming, and I swear I could just listen to her all day. I feel like I get just as excited about body talk as she does. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode and you got something out of it. I'd love to hear from you and hear about what did you get out of it. Did you have any light bulb moments throughout this episode? Are you feeling inspired? Are you feeling called to continuing your own healing journey? Remember, follow this podcast if you enjoyed this episode. And remember, even if your wings have been clipped off, they can always regrow.